French door refrigerators, dishwashers, ranges, and more.
See the top brands and the latest models of laundry sets at Fred's. Nobody has the selection of washers and dryers that Fred's has in stock.
Act now and save on a front-load Maytag laundry set on sale for only $6.49 each.
Save even more with pedestals. Buy the washer pedestal and the dryer pedestal is free. Fred's Appliance, 93 South, 5 minutes south of Brooks and Reserve.
Fred's Appliance Black Friday sale is on now. Come in and see us today.
Hey there, Missoula. Mark Moss from Tell Us Something inviting you to join us for an evening of live storytelling at the Wilma, December 10th at 7 p.m. 8 storytellers take the stage to share their true personal stories from memory on the theme, Tipping Point. We again welcome American Sign Language interpreters who will sign for our deaf friends in the Missoula community. Get your tickets now at the Top Hat box office, Rockin' Rudy's, or LogjamPresents.com. December 10th, 7 p.m. at the Wilma, Tipping Point Stories. See you there.
It's a crisp fall morning. Time for your daily pumpkin soy latte. As you wait for your coffee, you get a buzz. No, it's not your boss wanting extra whipped cream, but your ADT video doorbell. It's a package. Your new latte machine. No more $5 PSLs. Barista service. Brought to you by ADT. Designing and installing a smart home just for you. Backed by best-in-class 24/7 protection. Learn more at ADT.com. ADT. Real protection. License information available at ADT.com.
ESPN Radio. KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102. On K275BS Missoula. It's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
tomorrow. So plenty to get to. Our show Outlook brought to us by Shine Auto Detailing. Get your car detailed, get it safe, get it road ready. Shine Auto Detailing online at MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. Happy now to be, we are, by the way, not on your television sets, because we're in Bozeman, Montana. We're doing this remotely from the Universal Athletic headquarters in Bozeman as we get ready for the Cat Grizz game tomorrow. Our thanks to Universal Athletic, to the Montana Football Hall of Fame, and to Up Top Clothing, which all three people seated at this table got on some Up Top gear right now. We like to welcome in at this moment Brock Coyle, a good buddy Brock Coyle, former Grizzly, former San Francisco 49er, and, the man, sitting here. Hi, Brock. How are you?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Well done, by the way, on that intro.
Well, thanks.
When he goes on vacation, it's just over for me. I cannot get through it.
He was in his zone. I'm looking at him like, dang, he's just getting a lot of words out.
Yeah, if you say the same
just like football,
thing every day,
bro, it's all about reps.
That's right. That's right. I know the show intro, and I know how to tell my son, get down from there. Those are the things I say over and over again. Brock, great to have you, man. It's awesome to see you. And, man, so much to get to with this game and everything that goes with it. But what I wanted to ask you is, you are a Bozeman guy who went to play at the University of Montana, then, of course, went on to a very successful NFL career in Seattle and San Francisco, and have come back to Bozeman. But having matriculated through the University of Montana in this city on this weekend, what is that like for you? Are you catching it from all directions on a Grizz Cat weekend in Bozeman?
Honestly, not really. Now it's that maybe people don't recognize me anymore in Bozeman, which I'm cool with. But I guess for me, honestly, when I think about this game and really what it means to me as a player. I get to, when I drive by that stadium, I just think of my senior year. I think that was the most, your senior year, you're in college, that's the most important, year for you. And so it was awesome. We went in there, got the dub. And so, JP Flynn and I joke with each other. It's like, hey, if you win your senior year, you get to ride that the rest of your career.
That it's all good.
It's good, man. I'm a Bozeman boy, and I won in Bozeman.
It's interesting, though, for this Grizzly team tomorrow, because if Montana State comes away with a W, that's the first class in 42 years, I think it is, that will not have had a win against Montana State through it all. But if they do win tomorrow, like you said, that's a senior class. They don't care that they were 0-3 to go. They won the one at the end that they will ride off into the sunset, like you said.
Absolutely, and I think, it's cool just hearing you talk about all these different statistics. This game has such history. I think that's what you got to love about it. But, I think the fact that, these guys gone through a coaching change.
Right.
I went through that twice as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's been fun to watch from afar. I've really seen these guys come together. I've seen these leaders emerge on that team. And it's cool. It honestly reminds me a little bit of my senior year with Jordan Johnson at quarterback, kind of a good group of seniors, me, Jordan Tripp, JP Keningata, a lot of guys. Just the way we kind of came together. And we came out on top. We got a top 8 seed in the playoffs that year. So I'm pumped about this team.
The way that the narrative within the rivalry and across the country shifts each year, because this game is so big. Who wins it has momentum in the state, outside of the state, on the national stage. We were talking about just the back and forth this decade. The Cats have won 5, the Grizz have won 4. This is as even as it's been in the Big Sky era, where it's back and forth, back and forth. But we were talking about just what every single one of the games this decade has meant. And that 2013 game gets lost a little bit because so much of the story was about the fact that Cat team with Denarius McGee and Cody Kirk and Tanner Bleskin and Brad Daly, Zach Minter, Caleb Schreibeis, they lost that game and they didn't go to the playoffs. Every single one of those guys is a Bobcat Hall of Famer. They didn't go to the playoffs. But you guys are the ones that kept them out of the playoffs. To me, it's one of the most pivotal games because at that moment the Cats had some momentum. They'd won 3 Big Sky titles in a row. You guys shut the door on that, and it was the first loss that kind of led to then Rob Ash not being able to get it done against the Grizz, getting let go. But, that game, it was an amazing game. What do you remember about that Saturday, though? Because that one was one of the sharpest memories in my last 10 years covering this thing.
Oh, man, yeah, that was a special game. Again, I think for me personally, being in Bozeman, I was lucky enough to play 3 times here because I played as a true freshman. Then I redshirted that next year with an injury. So, that was special for me, growing up in Bozeman, watching games in that stadium. So then my senior year, again, personally coming in there, I knew a lot of people were going to have their eyes on me. A lot of people knew who I was, knew that I left Bozeman to go up to UM, and so, yeah, I had a little chip on my shoulder that game and wanted to make sure because also, story I don't know a lot of people know is Montana State only offered me a half scholarship, out of high school. And Bobby Houck calls me up and goes, hey, Brock, I'll give you a full ride. And so, I had a little chip on my shoulder for that too. I wanted to show Coach Ash, like, hey, man, you made a mistake. And I did that day. So it was fun. And we played awesome as a team. And, again, I think – to me, that game really represented that senior class where we went through a lot, the coaching changes and the scandals and everything like that. But, we came out on top of that day. And so It was awesome, man. That was a great day.
Brock Coyle sitting down with us. We are in Bozeman, Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. And Brock, interesting because tonight Bozeman is playing a state championship game right over there in Butte. So, I mean, this is all coming together for you this weekend, all that kind of stuff. What do you tell us about your time in high school and what Bozeman High School was like, what it was like to be in that school playing for that team? Because Bozeman High School has been very successful in athletics in general for a long time, and you were certainly part of a lot of great teams then.
Yeah, I actually wasn't.
That's the thing. That's the most interesting part. Is Bozeman's been dominated for the last 20 years in everything
awesome.
Except football. They only turned the corner in football in the last 10, right?
Right. Yeah. So when my senior year, I only won 3 games, but I think what was cool is kind of the tail of the tape with my career is Troy Purcell came in. I was, I think, a freshman or sophomore that year, and he was a brand new coach. And so, he's trying to implement a system, his personality on the team. And so, we had some senior classes go through, and then I knew, the Tanner Rodricks, the Will Disleys, I knew they were kind of coming.
Right.
But it was awesome. I mean, just the way to see Bozeman high school football get put on the state of Montana. Growing up for me was Billings West and Helena Capital, and to see Bozeman really come as a powerhouse, it's awesome because it's a great place, and I'm glad to see that kids are competing hard here in Bozeman, and heck, they're in the state championship again. So
yeah, it's awesome. Amazing.
The rivalry has gotten watered down a little bit because of the expansion of Class AA, and then the fact that Butte and Bozeman played every year, and that was the last game of the year usually, right? I mean, because there are only 2 AA towns that are one high school town.
Right.
So Butte Bozeman's kind of like –
and the closest to one another.
I was going to say, typical Montana where your actual crosstown game is 75 miles away.
right.
But I mean, that's the rivalry, right?
For sure.
And so now you got Bozeman tonight. And, I mean, the best high school game I ever watched was Will Disleys' junior year when those guys lost to Butte in Butte on the last-second field goal. But, I mean, just tell people about just the Bozeman-Butte rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, rivalries in sports are fantastic. And for us, I mean, we didn't really have a rival. In middle school, I remember it was Belgrade. And then high school, it's like, well, yeah, it's Butte. I mean, they're the closest ones. And, the Bulldogs, the purple, whatever. It's kind of, we built that little fun hatred for them. And it was fun. And, I think, again, when you get some rivals, it's always makes the game a little better. And it's going to be interesting to see now with Bozeman. You hear about Senior and West over in Billings, and now with Bozeman's new high school coming in, it's going to be fun to watch how that kind of grows and everything like that.
I'm getting pictures from Butte right now. There's 5 college-sized tailgates going on.
Oh, yeah.
Outside Naranche right now. I mean, this is like –
I bet you Colt's out there.
100%. Now, I mean,
he's got the up top tent.
I mean, look at that. That's hundreds of people right there.
For sure.
The caption of this photo says, this is one of 5 this size. So already hundreds. I mean, we were driving through Butte. We heard on the radio at 11 o'clock this morning that there was already people lining up at Naranche Stadium.
Yeah.
They're bringing in 3,000 bleachers. So I mean, that could be 10,000 people at this game.
It's gonna be awesome. You and I are hightailing it over there.
Can't wait.
As soon as this show is over. So we'll look forward to catching most of that football game when we get over there and seeing the atmosphere. But it's gonna be cool, and it's fun for Bozeman too because it's gonna be interesting. I know Missoula has experienced some of this, Kalispell to a certain extent, but when you multiply the high schools, obviously Belgrade, upping into Class AA as well. Obviously, the talent pool is just what it is, however many kids are there. So this is an opportunity for the Hawks to kind of stamp it at the end. But they've been playing pretty lockdown defense, right? Defense versus a little offense over there in Butte tonight, so it'll be fun.
Hawks, man. Shout out the Hawks.
There you go. Shouting them out. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Brock Coyle. Well, I almost said in studio with us, in Universal Athletic with us in Bozeman as we get set for Cat Grizz tomorrow. You talked about a couple of memories in that 2013 game, which may be the highlight of it all. But what do you remember about the preparation for this game, both particularly mentally, emotionally, and what it was like to prepare to play in this football game and getting into the sweet spot, as it were, where you were at the right fervor to go out and play as hard as you could, but also, do your job?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think, that's a great question in regards to getting that mindset right for that game. But, when I remember my senior year, Coach Delaney, who was my head coach at the time, he had a tradition during that season where he'd pick captains or pick some senior leaders to give a message for the week, and that was our theme. And so, I remember our theme for that week was give them nothing but take from them everything. And that was kind of like along those lines of if we beat them, we take their playoff spot, and we're not going to give them any opportunity to be successful. And, that really set the mindset for us as a team that year of like, all right, let's go in there. And I think we also understood what we were playing for. I think we were kind of felt – I know I did, and I know I can speak to some of the seniors on the team and some juniors too, like Zach Wagaman and some of those guys. But, we felt responsible where, hey, we want to be the team that kind of brings Montana football back. And I think we had a little more on our shoulders that game. I think playing in Bozeman where, hey, the Bobcats they'd been dominating, they've been playing really well, and we kind of wanted to get back to the top of the big sky that day. So, again, that kind of set the tone for us, and then we went in there and got it done. But I think that's a big component of this game is the mental side where I've seen it. I've seen guys where, on both sides of this rivalry, I've seen guys on the Grizz who, the moment's too big for them or they let their emotions get the best of them, whatever, and then vice versa. So, that's a big component in the outcome of the game for sure.
Mick Delaney is, we love Mick Delaney around here.
Who doesn't?
He's come around.
He should run for governor.
I know. He's he
wants to play golf.
Exactly. He's got too much going on.
Smoke a cigar once in a while, play some golf.
But he's such an engaging guy and such people gravitate to him. But as a coach, what was he like? Because I think sometimes people think, well, there's such an age difference in certain ways. Maybe guys can't connect, but also other times maybe that's exactly what you need is that space, and he becomes this sort of avuncular figure or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, honestly, Coach Delaney, again, is just awesome to be there for the first time for him when he took over as head coach for the first time. He actually recruited me out of high school when he was working for Bobby, and then Bobby left. But, I think if you think about the situation is Coach Delaney came in with a very hard job.
No doubt.
A very hard job. And this guy, a lot was asked of him, and he did a fantastic job. I don't know exactly what happened with the end of his time there, if that was, everyone was ready to move on or whatever. But, Coach Delaney should be remembered as the coach that brought Montana back. I really believe that. I think he set the foundation there, and that was huge. And so I give him a lot of credit. I have so much respect for him as a man. I think he was one of those coaches where, like, you want to play well for him, because you could tell the passion he had for you as an individual and us as a team and Montana. He was a good man and a great coach, so it was an honor to play for him, and he's a friend. He always texts me every holiday, everything. So he always texts me. He's a great man. So
what a good dude. We love Mick Delaney.
For sure.
You mentioned the multiple coaching changes. I think it's actually a unique position in the fact that not only were you recruited by Bobby Hauck, but you played for Bobby Hauck. Yeah. I know some other guys in that class played as true freshmen, but I can't think of another one that then made it to his fifth year. Right, because you got hurt, and then you kind of linked back up with the guys who had redshirted, like Jordy.
Yep.
So you got a chance to play for Bobby Hauck, Robin Pflugrad, and Mick Delaney.
Yeah.
See it all go down. What a fascinating arc, right? You're one of the only guys that got to see that, to play on that 2009 team that goes undefeated until the national championship game, watch the playoff streak end in 2010, be on the team in 2011 when you whip the Cats, go through the whole scandal, Flu getting fired, the losing season, and they come back out on top. What an arc of a career when you actually think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think you look back at the history of this game, but you look back at the history of Grizz football, and I think for the real fans that really know Grizz football, they'll look back on that time as, I think definitely a time where Grizz football could have gone two ways. I think it could have gone downhill, and we're trying to rebuild and catch up. But it went the opposite way. And, I think a huge component to that is, the guys over at GSA, like Greg Sundberg and Ken Haslam coming in and making it a priority to fundraise, get some money to give these athletes of Montana the proper facilities, great locker room, things like that, because our stadium was amazing. Mm-hmm. But when we can recruit with also our weight room, locker rooms, things like that, so I think that was big, looking back on that time and just the way that everyone came together in the athletics. Hey, hiring Mick Delaney, getting Kent in there, Greg Sundberg, all those guys. So it's a cool, interesting time, and it really helped me grow as a player and a man, honestly. So it was good.
Jeff Choate dropped a stat at his press conference on Monday. He was talking about how in the FBS level, I think 78% of the head coaches are either in their second or third years. It's become such a "what have you done for me lately" business.
Yeah, 3 years or less of a tenure
right.
at his place.
You could win 10 games every year like Jim Harbaugh and still be on the hot seat all the time because you can't beat one team. You can't beat Ohio State. Or you're not Nick Saban. You're not Alabama.
It might be the khakis, too, though, honestly. That might be.
But regardless, coaching changes are so prevalent now, and I think the impact it has on a program has gotten lost on people a little bit. But it has an impact just because of the attrition that occurs, right? My brother and I were talking about guys that were in your class, some guys that were just so good, they just kind of got lost in the wash because they came to play for Coach Houck, and then Flew gets fired, and that, what am I going to do? Maybe I got hurt. I don't really have a position. I mean, remember Chris Bradford?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Chris Bradford was an
we had all sorts of talented guys.
I mean, Chris Bradford was so talented. He just kind of got lost in the wash because he came to play for Bobby, and then he kind of just got homesick, and then he was just gone. But he would have been an all-Big Sky D tackle just based on talent, right? But, I mean, how hard is it to go through coaching transitions like that? Because sometimes it just makes the attrition happen, even if everybody's getting along. Sometimes it just happens, right?
For sure. It's extremely difficult. I mean, and honestly, it depends on the coach.
Totally.
Is that coach, is he prepared to come in there and, hey, really evaluate every former player under Bobby or whatever that Bobby recruited and say, hey, this is what I want to do with him. This is my vision for that individual player. Some coaches, hey, they come in there and they're like, okay, well, you know what? He's just not going to fit. I want to get my guy. And I think you see the coaches that come in and really focus on the personnel for that first 1 to 2 years, they make that successful transition.
I mean, look at what Bobby Houck's doing on offense right now, right?
Right, exactly.
I never thought I'd see a Bobby Houck team throw for 320 yards a game, but that's what they do because that's where their talent is at.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, you look at I'm just going to go back to my senior or my time at UM. Bobby, we go to the national championship in 2009, then Pflugrad comes in. We struggled that year because we're transitioning offense. We're trying to put in, more of a spread system. Bobby built that for, power and run it down your throat, and same thing on defense. So, we had a transition, and then Delaney, same thing. Again, we had a little, rough patch that first year, and then we were successful. But, I think, too, my second point is just for what coaching changes do for the athlete and the student athlete is, a lot of these guys, when you're getting recruited, you're committing 4 or 5 years of your life to somebody, into a place, into a school. And so when you do that, you're expecting, it's like, hey, I'm putting my career in your hands too. And it's like, I've worked my whole life to get to college. And so that can be very hard on players, honestly, when a coach leaves and then a new coach comes in and you just don't know the new coach. You don't know how to get that vibe from him. Does he like you, whatever. And so, it can definitely play with you mentally as a student athlete too. So it's a lot. But, I think the guys who are mentally tough are successful in those coaching changes.
It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television here in Bozeman at the Universal Athletic. Come on by the Universal Athletic wherever you are around the state. Certainly in Bozeman, come by, say hi to us, see what's going on, get yourself some up-top gear. Cat, Grizz, doesn't matter. They do it all. Or you can also...
Shout out to Luke, man. Shout out to Luke.
Hey, there you go. Getting the Andersons involved.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Luke for just a half second at the Weber State game.
Yep.
He's still a passionate Grizz fan, no doubt.
It's a Montana company, we talk about
absolutely.
Montana. Let's support Montana company. So
there you go.
I remember when Colt started throwing the hats around the Mo Club 10 years ago. Where'd you get these? They're like, would you guys buy these if we made them? Absolutely. We would.
Yeah.
Here now, everybody in the state has one,
there you
go.
This might seem like a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is the Cat Grizz game, was it fun to play in?
Oh, yeah.
Because,
yeah, listen, if it wasn't
like
fun for anybody, they don't belong on the football field.
Okay.
Like, you're not a football player if that's not fun for you.
It just seems like, so much goes into it and so much preparation and emotion, maybe something like angst, maybe something like anger, maybe all of this stuff, and excitement, certainly. And on the field, I have no doubt that it's fun to go play in. But also, there's just a lot. it's hard, man. Like it's hard. Football's hard in general. I understand that, but I mean, it seems like the glory that fans look at and they're like, oh, of course. I mean, well, I'd give my left leg to go out there and play. You know what I mean? But also, if you actually have to, maybe I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think you bring up points about other maybe football games around the country or teams that don't have rivalries, but again, I just think the history that's behind this game, it just adds that emphasis to you as a player where you know how special it is. I remember Ty Gregorak was on the show a couple days ago here, and he would always make such a great point to me when I was a linebacker coach. He was my linebacker coach and I was a linebacker there, and he would just say, hey, you guys go make history. Like, this game has so much history, and I think with that comes all those emotions, comes all that maybe false pressure or good pressure.
Right.
And I think, especially for me now, the way I've almost matured with the way I view the game. I think my freshman year and sophomore year, it was like, hey, FTC, let's go kick their, that type of thing. Now it's still that, but then I think my senior year, it was a little more. It was like just, hey, I want to really go out there, play well for my team, but also, I want to dominate, and I want them to just be overwhelmed by us as a team. And then I think now it's really just appreciating what that game was and how fortunate I was to be able to play in something like that as a player. There are a lot of schools out there that don't have any kind of rivalry like this. So I think now, looking back, being done playing football, I get to look back and just be so appreciative of just the amazing experiences that I had in this game, because you see it. I mean, the stadium's packed. People love this. The whole state of Montana, the eyes are on either Bozeman or Missoula every day, and every November 20 whatever it is. So it's awesome. It's a great experience.
I think that sometimes two people that follow this game, people that cheer for this game, don't realize how well you guys know each other on the other side too, right? I mean, even if you don't know this guy as a buddy, you know who he is. You played an all-star game with him. You played against him in high school. I mean, like Jordy and Cody Kirk, for example, right? I mean, those guys grew up together. I mean, they know each other since they're 5 years old, and I think that's one part that the fans don't get, is that most of the time you guys don't hate each other. You guys have mad respect for each other. Right,
absolutely. I mean, I remember, Denarius McGee, I would always watch him, and he came in as a freshman playing well, and I just remember I respected him. I mean, the fact he came in and he really helped bring that team back. Guys like Cody Kirk, where I've worked out with Cody in the summer. But, those guys really, they brought kind of Bobcat football really up. And, for me, coming out of high school, the Bobcats maybe won 4 games. The Grizz won national championship games. And so then I go to UM, and the Bobcats really are very successful, going to playoff games, winning a lot of games. And it's for those guys like Denarius McGee and Cody. So I think, to that point, Culture, we definitely have mutual respect for each other for some guys. But, there are definitely some guys over there who were like, all right, bud, strap it up. Let's go. So it's good, though, man. It's just a great rivalry. It really is.
Well, it's a great rivalry. It's awesome to hear your perspective on it. People don't know this, but you commuted like 4.5 hours out of the woods to come here for this today, Brock. You've been out hunting hard this whole season, so we appreciate you coming by and doing this. And enjoy the game tomorrow. You going to be in the stadium tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to be on the sideline with my boys.
Okay,
there
we'll
go,
come
Grizz,
see you
man.
then. We'll come see you.
I got some good memories on that sideline, so I'm going to go right back.
I think actually we were maybe the last time, maybe 2 times ago in Bozeman, you were still playing. You were playing for the Seahawks, I remember, actually.
Yeah.
And you had a bye, and you were able to come back. I remember we ran into you on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, when I was playing, I had 2 bye weeks fall on this weekend. So
that's amazing.
Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Brock, we certainly appreciate you being here, man. This was fun to catch up and do this with you, so thanks for being here.
It's always fun, man. You guys do a great job. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brock. Brock Coyle, boys and girls, former Grizz, former Seahawk, 49er, and current Montanan. Always with Brock Coyle. Love having him in here. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. From one Grizz to another, Colt Anderson going to join us. He knows a little thing or two about this rivalry as well. He'll join us right after this. Selway Armory on Black Friday is the one store you have to visit to save huge on guns, ammo, and accessories. Check out Selway Armory's insert in the Thanksgiving edition of the Missoulian before Black Friday to see all of the unbelievable inventory and savings they have in store for you. Put Selway Armory on your schedule and get there this Black Friday and Saturday for the sale of the year. Get to the store at 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6 behind IHOP on North Reserve. Selway Armory's Black Friday sale. Shop local, save money, shoot more.
It is the fiercest rivalry in college football, and on November 22nd, Universal Athletic, Up Top Clothing, and ESPN Missoula will team together to bring you a special edition of Tutel Nuanez. Broadcasting from the Universal Athletic headquarters in Bozeman, swing into Universal Athletic to check out the Montana Football Hall of Fame, get your Grizz and Bobcat gear, and hear the best sports talk radio in Montana previewing the 119th rendition of the historic rivalry. Universal Athletic and Up Top Clothing are passionate supporters of athletics around the great state of Montana.
There's a saying, opportunity never knocks twice. When you're ready to take advantage of your next opportunity, look to your local bank. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Opportunity Bank offers options for mortgage loans, small business loans, equipment financing, agriculture, and more. Our experienced team can provide solutions to help you welcome your next big opportunity. There's nothing like the feeling of progress. So let's get started today. Come see us at your local Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Thank you for making Polaris America's best-selling off-road brand. During the Polaris Great American Thank You event, financing is as low as 3.99% and rebates go as high as $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle everything from mountains to mud holes in a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or adventure in a versatile Polaris General. Now is the time to get the season's best deals on America's best-selling off-road lineup with financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months and rebates up to $3,500 during the Polaris Great American Thank You at Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Get to Kurtz Polaris on Saturday, December 7th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for Kurt's 7th annual Snow Day. This is the biggest sale of the year, one day only, Saturday, December 7th at Kurtz Polaris in Missoula. Kurt's 7th annual Snow Day. Rebates valid in U.S. through 12/31/19 on new 2016 through 2020 vehicles. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from your favorite daily sports talk show, Tutel Nuanez. I'm here with Tom from Aspen Sound. Tom, last winter I got a sweet car starter. It's something I think everybody needs.
You know, Colter, I couldn't agree more, and my wife sure thinks so too. We've got a lot of sweet deals. We actually have it capable now where you can start it from your phone from anywhere you'd like. We have two-way remotes that'll confirm to you the vehicle started all the way down to our basic package starting at just $299 installed. Come on in and check us out.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hey, boys and girls, here's a little sports news for you on a Cat Grizz Friday. Rivalry Showdown number 119 is a day away, and champions across Montana will be crowned as the state championships begin tonight on Cat Grizz weekend. Also, there's a non-football note to notice. Montana State star runner Camilla Noe will compete on the national stage. The freshman and Bozeman High product will compete in the NC2A cross-country championships on Saturday. The women's 6-kilometer championship race begins at 9:15 a.m. in Terre Haute, Indiana. Pretty sure I got that right. Noe will be the 7th Bobcat women's runner to participate in the NCAA championships since Darby native Heather DeMorris took 58th at the meet in 2013.
That race will be the precursor to the showdown the Treasure State is collectively anticipating. The number 3 Montana Grizzlies visit the number 8 Montana State Bobcats for a kickoff scheduled for high noon at Bobcat Stadium tomorrow. The matchup pits the Big Sky Conference's top rushing offense in the Bobcats against the league's most stout rushing defense. Montana State is looking for its 4th straight win over the rival Grizzlies. MSU has not won 4 straight since the last 4 years of legendary coach Sonny Holland's tenure, which ended in 1977. The winner of the game will likely sew up a top 8 seed and a bye in the 2014 FCS playoff field.
The matchup is the first between the two top 10 teams in the rivalry since 2011 and just the second time. Both teams will have been ranked as high in 122 years. Welcome back to Tutel Nuanez, 189 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Jennifer and I, live from Bozeman, Montana. We're at the Universal Athletic, also in the Montana Football Hall of Fame, which is housed here. Outstanding to be here. And getting some up top gear going. You got your Montana over everything. I got my up top hunting camo shirt going here, so it's pretty good all the way around. We are broadcasting through still the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, and on Saturday, December the 7th. One day only. It's the 7th annual snow day at Kurtz Polaris in Missoula, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They got free lunch for you, free coffee, bunch of stuff going on, and the biggest sale of the entire year, one day, December 7th at Kurtz Polaris. It is time now to go to the phones. It is our Opportunity Bank Coach's Corner, because even though he was a player in both for the University of Montana and in the NFL for 9 seasons, he's a coach for Butte. He's, in fact, going to be on the sidelines for the Butte Bulldog Bozeman Hawk State AA Championship game tonight, and we were certainly happy to be joined this week by Colt Anderson to talk about this game. Please enjoy our conversation with Colt Anderson on a Cat Grizz Friday. We go now to the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. We welcome in a former Montana Grizzly and a 9-year NFL veteran, Colt Anderson, to the show. Colt, thanks so much for joining us. Huge day. You're going to the Butte High State Championship game, and then, of course, tomorrow it's Cat Grizz, which I think you may know something about. Good to have you along, man. How are you?
Hey, it's great being on here. Yeah, 2 big games. It should be a fun weekend.
Tonight, let's start there, man. I mean, you're going to the Naranchi Stadium. When it's loaded up, when it's packed, I mean, that place is special, right? What's it like? I know the semifinals last week and the state championship tonight. What do you think it's tell the people kind of what it's like in there when that place is rocking.
Well, it's funny. It's obviously a great stadium and with a lot of history, but when they revamped the stadium and decided to move from East Middle School back up to Butte High, the original playing field for Butte High, one of the main guys that had a lot of influence on designing the stadium is a big Grizz fan. So he wanted to get a little Grizz character in there. And, it does have that feel, that the fans are right on top of you. You got the metal or the concrete walls right close to the field. And it's a great atmosphere and obviously great home field advantage for the Butte High Bulldogs. And, I know other teams that come in are really excited to play there as well.
It's funny too, right? Because you mentioned that they used to play at the middle school. That's the only place I remember playing in high school was at the middle school. You guys didn't play in Naranchi, right?
No, yeah. The only thing we did up in Naranchi was we practiced there, and then sub-varsity played. Like the freshman, sophomore JV games were played up there. They had the grass, the hill there that was just covered in grass. So if you want to go watch a game, you brought a blanket and sat on the hill. But where that hill is now is completely full of bleachers, and it's awesome. I guess tonight they're predicting anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 fans, and it should be a great environment and a great atmosphere for these kids.
Well, that is going to be awesome, and it's a great precursor to a pretty big game tomorrow, from what I understand, a Cat Grizz football game, and one that you were in obviously a number of times. And look, man, I don't know. Everybody knows, I think, kind of generally how big a game this is, and your experience in it and so forth. But just year in and year out, when it gets to this point again, what's sort of the emotion that builds in you when you're going, okay, it's another Cat Grizz game, it's another rivalry game, and even now this time as an observer, as a fan, etc. What's it like for you?
Right. Growing up in Montana, I had 2 uncles that played for the Cats. One of my uncles was a quarterback there. The other was an All-American safety. So, I grew up watching the Cats, but my loyalty and my heart was with the Grizz. In 1995, my 4th grade teacher was Dave Dickinson, and it just happened to be during the national championship run. So when I was 10, that's when I fell in love with the Grizz, and it's obviously a huge game. And but when we were at Montana, we got everybody's best game. It was everyone had Montana marked down on the calendar for their rivalry game, and for us, it was just another game. Obviously, having Bobby Houck as our head coach, he instilled that it wasn't just another game; that it runs deeper than that. So you're going to get everybody's best game when you're a Montana Grizzly, and it was no different when we played the Cats.
Butte itself, the town of Butte, is such an interesting battleground when it comes to this rivalry because, the last 10 years haven't been that many kids from Butte that have gone on to play for the Cats or the Grizz, but for a long time, such a rich recruiting ground. There's so many guys that played for the Cats and the Grizz. so much of the history of Montana State stems from Butte. You know, Jim Sweeney, Sonny Lubick, Sonny Holland, Mick Delaney first coached for the Cats before, becoming a Grizz later on in life. I mean, there's a lot of ties on the Cat side, but then you look at the Grizz side, Mick Dennehy, Mick Delaney, multiple Butte guys on that side as well. Bobby Houck traces his roots all the way back to Butte too. But now when you're sitting there in Butte, which way does Butte lean right now? Or is it just split down the middle? Is it a Cat town? Is it a Grizz town? Or where's Butte at?
No, it's definitely a Grizz town.
Because of the guy we're talking to right now.
I'm telling you what, you look for a non-biased answer in the wrong spot, Colter.
No, it's a Grizz. Actually, it's cool. Mick Denny, he's living back here in Butte now. Mick Delaney's living back here in Butte now, and it's awesome. My dad gets to golf with both those guys, and it's crazy that we've had so much history with college coaches come out here. My high school football coach was D coordinator Greg Salo for Montana State, and so we like to think that we are kind of the heart of Montana football, and it's been cool to see guys like Mick Denny. He just down at playing golf with him, and Mick Delaney. He comes to a lot of Butte High's practices, and it's pretty neat. And Bobby Houck, his parents are both from Butte. Timmy Houck was born here in Butte. So it's pretty neat. And I think we got one Butte kid on Montana's roster, Dylan Cook. He's starting right tackle. So he's got a great story. He goes to Northern and he's quarterback and decides that it's not for him, and he walks onto the Grizz and as a right tackle, and a year later he's starting. So it's pretty cool. A lot of like you said, a lot of history comes from Butte. We're proud of it, obviously, but they used to play the rivalry game here was played here at Narragansett Stadium. So it goes way back.
Cole Anderson joining us, former Grizz, longtime NFL veteran, and Colt, I'm not going to ask you if you're surprised if the Grizz are back the way that they are, because I know that you're not with Bobby Houck being there, but are you surprised that it's happened this quickly, that they're the number 3 team in the nation and a one-loss team at the FCS level and staring already in a playoff seed and a run in the face right now in year 2?
Right. With Bobby Houck and the way that he gets those guys to play so hard, I'm not surprised. I was actually surprised that they didn't have, more success last year. They let a couple games slip away last year, and I knew Bobby and the rest of the staff would get those guys going, and I'm not surprised this year. I was able to go out and catch that Oregon game, and that was a lot of fun. I have mixed feelings with playing up, and you kind of risk reward. You can lose a bunch of guys with injuries, but I felt like after that game, those guys just gained a lot more confidence. Like, holy cow, maybe we can play with these guys. They got to see that speed, and I think it helped. Montana play up. They've been playing a lot faster and more physical, and it's been fun to see their growth.
I want to ask you about the developmental Hawks program, because I was telling my brother this the other night. I started going to practices when Coach Houck first got back. They were so similar to what I used to watch you guys do when you guys were there. From that day he came back to then last fall camp to then this fall camp to then watching them practice each of the last 2 Wednesdays leading up to this week, they get noticeably better every single time. It's amazing. Like, the team really is better on a week-to-week basis, not just months or seasons. Week to week, they're better. What about the program? Why does it help you get better, not just incrementally, but so quickly?
Yeah, no, that's really a great question. I can speak, for myself, and I came in as a walk-on, and so did Mark Mariani and a bunch of other guys, and he's not looking for the quick fix guys. He understands that if you want a good program, you got to develop those young players and it mentally and physically, and that's what he does. And not only does it do it year over year, but like you said, week to week, to get the best out of each individual player. And he gets in there and he's honest with guys. He makes correction. He holds guys accountable. And you mess up, fine, well, that's on me, but let's not do it again. And it's cool. It's a great program. It's a great. It was a great place to play, and I learned a lot from him. Not only as a player, just as a person.
Colt, you and your brother Luke's been running Up Top Clothing and are part of this broadcast actually today, doing this thing, from Bozeman and getting ready for the Cat Grizz game tomorrow. So we appreciate that. I got my Montana Till I Die shirt on right now. Thank you very much for that thing. I mean, that's an all-timer. But tell the people, obviously, a little bit about, about the brand, about Up Top, but also just to kind of about what it is, because I don't think there is anything like it when it comes to, born and bred state of Montana and covering everybody. You know what I mean? It's not just a Cat. It's not a Grizz. It gets into the Frontier Conference and everything else too.
Yeah, no, really, it's funny. How it started out was a joke. I think I told you guys this last year. We just started making a couple hats, a couple shirts for ourselves, then giving a couple to our friends, and then next thing you know, we're like, God, maybe we should sell a couple. And so we sell a couple, take that money, and make a few more. And it's just kind of evolved over the years, just from T-shirts to hats to, now getting our CLC license to sell college apparel. And, we're selling a lot of high school gear too. It's what we call a lifestyle clothing brand, and you're proud to wear it. You're excited to wear it. And, it's been a lot of fun. We've gotten a lot of support, and obviously we couldn't do it without the people of Montana and even around United States. So it's been cool. A lot of my teammates, when I was playing, were proud to wear it, and still to this day ask me to send them some stuff. So it's really neat, and we want to keep that home roots, clothing brand and keep it local. It's been fun, and hopefully we keep growing. But we appreciate you guys, for all your support, and we not only you guys, but just like I said, people around the state, and it's been cool.
Well, Montanans love Montana, man, and if they can find something they know goes all the way down into the state, they're into it, and certainly Up Top has been and is that. So that's pretty sweet.
No, I appreciate it.
All sorts of Up Top clothing right here at Universal Athletics. Right. So come on down. You can get geared up for the game no matter which side of the rivalry you're on. Maybe you want to wear some Western gear to the game, whatever. You got it. Universal Athletics got you covered. So does Up Top Clothing. Colt, we'll get you out of here on this. Put your analyst hat on. What's going to happen tomorrow when Montana and Montana State meet for the 119th time?
I think it's going to start out a little sloppy, but Montana is going to dominate the second half, and I predict a victory of let's go 28-13.
Ooh.
Very good.
Taking the under on this one. I like it. 28-13 says Colt Anderson. Hey, man, enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the game tomorrow, and we'll catch up with you soon. We appreciate you taking the time out, okay, man?
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
Hi there. It's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night, because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up.
Don't cook dinner. Stop by the Town Pump Deli and pick up a 2-piece chicken and chochos with ranch for only $3.49. Want a great beer to go with it? Grab a 12-pack of Modelo for $11.99. Town Pump, right down the road.
If you're looking for a charming neighborhood hideaway, come into Katie O'Keefe's. Located in the corner of the Stevens Center, Katie's has an inviting atmosphere with ample parking in a location that's easy to get to and hard not to love. With drink specials every night of the week, including Tequila Tuesdays and Whiskey Wednesdays, offering $3 premium cocktails. Katie O'Keefe's is the welcoming, warm hangout you've been looking for. Come in to Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
This is Tom Skerritt for the Borgen Project. Each year, nearly 2 million children die from preventable diseases. Each day, 30,000 people die from hunger. 500 each hour are children. The Borgen Project is turning this around. We need your help. To learn more, go to BorgenProject.org. That's BORGEN project.org.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
From Meatloaf to Metallica, we do it all on a Cat Chris Friday. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Great to be with you on this Friday evening as dusk settles in across the state and the energy level just keeps rising as Cat Grizz coming up noon tomorrow and state championship game in just over 2 hours from now. Butte Bozeman from Naranche Stadium. We'll talk about that a little bit. We are broadcasting live through the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Check them out on Saturday, December 7th. It's Kurt's 7th annual snow day, the biggest sale of the entire year. 1 day only, 6 hours, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Kurtz Polaris. It is time now for our Farmers State Bank Prep Extra segment. What a great day to have this going on, Coulter, as we got one state football championship tonight, and it's going to be a doozy, and then another 4 tomorrow, Class A, B, C, 8-man, and C, 6-man. Let's talk, though, Coulter, about the big game tonight in Butte between the Butte Bulldogs. Tommy Malott leading the top-powered offense of Butte against maybe the best defense in the state in the Bozeman Hawks, who held Jackson Lee in a high-powered Sentinel offense to 21 points last week in the state semifinal. This is going to be a great game. Coulter, they were already lined up at noon today, if not before, at Naranche Stadium. They're tailgating this thing. This has a feeling of everything you'd ever want for a major college atmosphere over there in Butte tonight.
Man, one of my favorite parts about this weekend is just the reunion element of it. We just saw a bunch more people that we know.
Yep.
We should have just grabbed Trace Timmer right there, have him come sit down too, because he's got an awesome Cat Grizz story because both his dad, Kurt, and his uncle Troy were on the 1984 Bobcat National Championship team. And then his older brother, Ty, decided to go to the Grizz. And that was not a popular decision in their family. But then Trace and his little brother, Trevin, came to the Cats, too. So there's a bunch of Timber boys that have played in this rivalry on both sides. I know that Ty, he was not the most popular brother in his household for a long time. But no, tonight in Butte's going to be it's going to be wild, man, because like we were talking about with Brock Coyle off the top of the show, Butte and Bozeman are fierce rivals, and you're talking about towns that are only 75 miles apart, which is very close by Montana standards, and those two towns couldn't be a world away. I mean, they are so different.
Right.
And, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating dynamic of –
the water here goes to the Gulf of Mexico. The water there goes to the Pacific Ocean. I mean, what more? How big of a separation could you possibly have?
No doubt, man. And it's and when you talk about the differences in the towns, then you talk about the differences of the teams. I mean, Bozeman hasn't always been like this, but they're a ground and pound defensive first outfit. They try to turn the ball over a bunch on defense. They stuff the run and they run the ball with authority. Asher Croy is a power back. I mean, that's what he does. He comes downhill at you, smacks you in the face. And Carter Ash on the other side of the ball is one of the best DBs in the entire state. 9 interceptions this year. I guess 10 after he had a pick last week as well that he almost took back for a touchdown. He's also one of the best punt returners in the state. He's got 4 punt return touchdowns this year as well. But then you look at Butte, high-octane offense. Tommy Malott's gotten all the headlines this year, and rightfully so. I can't tell you how many times he had 350 yards of total offense or more this year. Every morning when I'm right at the Sports Center, Tommy Malott threw for 350-plus, 3 touchdowns, rushed for another 90 to 125. I mean, the kid's an offensive machine. He's a true dual threat. and he plays defense as well. So he's the guy that is the engine, but they have a bunch of other playmakers as well. The Moreno kid, their main tailback, is a bruiser too. To me, this is going to be a hard-fought game. I don't think on a November night like this, a mile high, a mile deep in Naranche, I can't really see a crazy amount of offensive fireworks. I mean, there's going to be some points scored, make no mistake, but I think this is going to be more of a slugfest, even though Butte has been so high-powered on offense, just because I do think these are contrasting styles, and when you're talking about late November, we know which one almost always wins out. So going to be a fun night in Naranche Stadium in Butte, America. I can't wait.
Tomorrow, Coulter, another 4 state championship games going on. Class A, it's an Eastern affair. Miles City hosting Laurel. And, again, with a guy like Carson Rostad, and obviously Hamilton having been in the last 2 state championships and undefeated up until that point, and Dillon, who has been, the class of Class A for the last decade plus, for those 2 teams to make it to the semifinals and neither of them to make it into the state championship shows you just what kind of firepower is going on in the eastern side of the state in Class A this year. But Miles City hosting their first state championship since, I believe, 1995, the last time it was in Miles City. Laurel going to go through Billings, head out to Miles City for a football game tomorrow afternoon.
No doubt. We just talked to all the people you see, right? I introduced you to Dalton Reed. He was on the last Miles City state championship team in 2010. And it's been a little while. I mean, he was saying it's such a big deal in the town that he was actually even thinking of driving to Miles City tomorrow and skipping the Cat Grizz game, but he can't do that. He's married to the Durham family, so he's not allowed to skip the Cat Grizz.
You better be at that thing. Yeah, exactly.
In Bozeman. So,
yeah.
No, but it's been interesting because we talked about this earlier on in the week, and I guess in the month, that the Western A got so many headlines.
Right.
And I think a lot of that's just Hamilton and Frenchtown's proximity to Missoula and the fact that then the media could just cover them a little more. Miles City's kind of out on this island. They're not getting much coverage except for maybe into Billings, but that's hours away.
Well, the other thing, too, though, when you got a Gatorade Player of the Year that's a quarterback that's committed,
totally.
I mean, there's going to be
I'm not saying Hamilton didn't deserve a lot of headlines this year. I'm just saying Miles City's kind of been this outpost, and I think they're kind of this mysterious team, but don't look now. They're 11-0. They're giving up 7 points per game. I mean, they have the best defense in the state of Montana, so it's going to be a slugfest tomorrow. And that'll be a fun one as well to monitor.
This is our Prep Extra segment. It's a great time of year. 4 state championship games tomorrow, kicking off at 1 in the afternoon, and just over 2 hours from now in Butte, America. I'm not saying you should rob anybody, but if you wanted to, tonight's the night at Butte, because nobody's home in Butte right now for the Butte-Bozeman football game. So we'll look forward to being at that, and certainly on Monday we will cover everything that happens and as state championships are handed out over the weekend. It's our Prep Extra segment. It's brought to us by Farmers State Bank. Hey, Christmas is coming around. How are you going to finance it? You're going to put up high interest rates on a credit card? Don't do that. Apply for a holiday loan at Farmers State Bank. Fast approval times, low interest, and easy payments, OAC. Hour 1 in the books, the final hour of the week, heading into a Cat Grizz weekend coming up, and it gets going with a bang. J.P. Flynn, former Cat, former NFL football player, and a man who's got a lot to say. I mean, he brought his dog with him, for crying out loud. We're going to have him on here and talk Cat Grizz rivalry with a Bozeman flavor right after this.
It's a rite of passage, that first bank account. Explore the great options for your young adult with a visit to Farmers State Bank, online at farmersebank.com or in person at any of our 9 locations in western Montana. Our checking and savings accounts are designed to fit any lifestyle and budget, with the flexibility, innovations, and security today's consumers demand. Start out right with Farmers State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Member FDIC.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
The biggest season in sports is shifting into overdrive, and the Desperado Sports Tavern has the fuel you need to make it to the finish line. By now, you've heard that the Despo serves the best wings around, but did you know they have a full menu with burgers, nachos, chicken strips, sandwiches, cheese sticks, and even steaks? Fill your tank, then wash it down with an ice-cold beverage or two. Keep your head in the game with 32 HD TVs and room for the whole crew. The Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell across from the Y.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
You've been auditioning at the dinner table for years. Are you finally ready to hit the stage? Arts Missoula and ASUM are teaming up again to showcase the best of the region's high school talent at First Night Spotlight. Audition at Hellgate or Big Sky after school on December 2nd and 5th, respectively. Or for Sentinel, Willard, and surrounding schools, tryouts will be held 11:30 a.m. Saturday, December 7th at the UC Theater. The best of the best will be invited to perform live on New Year's Eve. To sign up for First Night Spotlight tryouts, go to artsmissoula.org.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark Fork Law Offices. Our Missoula firm specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. There are many unknowns when injured or disabled. The other side is fighting hard. You should too. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon / evening, boys and girls. Tutel Nuanez. Here's a little sports news for you. Rivalry Showdown number 119 is a day away, and champions across Montana are going to be crowned across the state starting tonight at the high school level as well. But Coulter, there's more than just football going on this weekend. Tell them about it.
The NCAA National Cross Country Championships are going on this weekend tomorrow in Terre Haute, Indiana. Camilla Noe from Montana State will compete. She's a freshman out of Bozeman High School, and she's the first Montana State women's runner to participate in the NCAA Championships since Darby native Heather Demarest took 58th place at the 2013 meet.
The race will be the precursor to the showdown the Treasure State is collectively anticipating. The number 3 Montana Grizzlies visit the number 8 Montana State Bobcats for a kickoff scheduled at high noon in Bobcat Stadium tomorrow. The matchup pits the Big Sky Conference's top rushing offense in Montana State against the league's most stout rushing defense in the Grizzlies.
Montana State is looking for its 4th straight victory over the rival Grizz. MSU has not won 4 straight since the last 4 years of legendary head coach Sonny Holland's tenure, which ended in 1977. The winner of the game will likely sew up a top 8 seed and a bye in the 2014 FCS playoffs.
And finally, the matchups is the first between 2 top 10 teams in the rivalry since 2011, and the second time both teams have been ranked this high in the 122-year league history.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Boys and girls, welcome to hour number 2. It is 5 o'clock in the greatest time zone across the greatest state in America, the mountain, if you're wondering, if you're counting at home. It's Tutel Nuanez broadcasting live from the Universal Athletic in Bozeman, Montana. We are very happy to be here in the Montana Football Hall of Fame as well. Come on over, check out the Hall of Fame. It's very, very cool. Get yourself some up-top gear. It is, it's everywhere, and it is state of Montana, and we appreciate Luke and obviously Cole Anderson as well for hooking us up with some of that stuff here and getting the show off the ground from Bozeman, Montana as we get ready for Cat Grizz tomorrow. We are broadcasting through the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 85. 3 in Sealy. Saturday, December 7th is Kurt's 7th annual snow day. One day only, the biggest sale of the year. Get there Saturday, December 7th at Kurt's Polaris. If you missed anything in the show in the first hour, get it on the podcast, the Two Tell Nuanez podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. It's there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. You can, of course, also listen to the FCS Speculators podcast, which is out right now as well. And with that, we are happy to welcome in yet another guest, yet another veteran of this big rivalry, a outstanding Montana State football player, and then as well with the San Francisco 49ers, J.P. Flynn joining us. J.P., welcome on in. Thanks for being here, coming down, bringing Charlie. Charlie, did I get that right?
Chuck's here joining us.
Chuck the dog came on in. I don't know if that's a regulation, but I think Universal Athletic going to let that slide today to bring it. It's an emotional support animal, right? That's what you got there?
Yeah, she's no, she just stinks and smells. Snores. But she's a good companion.
Well, JP, obviously there's plenty to get to, but the thing that is the overarching narrative of this show today is the game tomorrow, one that you played in several times. When you talk about Montana versus Montana State, we've had a couple of former Grizzlies on talking about this. When this comes from a Montana State perspective, though, and what it's like to play against Montana, especially when it's in Bozeman, what is the mindset in general? Where do you go to play in this game? Minding we are on live radio with FCC regulations, okay?
Yeah.
I saw you filtering through right off the bat there, so I want to be clear.
This game involves some a very, very dark mindset. And there's no other way to explain it. I know that there's good people that play on both sides of the ball, and most of the time when the game's over, you're buddies. You're more than willing to go, have a drink with each other, have a meal, whatever. But when the clock strikes 15 and quarter one begins, it's a different mindset compared to any other game. They call it the Montana Super Bowl. They call it the Brawl of the Wild. And even then, I would say it's even more. It's even a higher mindset than that, because this game is a special game, a special rivalry that means a lot to a lot of people across the state of Montana.
You're a young guy. You've only been out of this thing for a couple of years from a playing perspective, but now you get to come back. And you mentioned some of the little boys that are in town. To me, my favorite part of the whole thing is just the reunion element of it, right? I mean, we're going to see guys that we've known for years and guys you haven't seen in a while, and it's almost like a designated vacation. What about that part do you like?
I mean, I love it. You get to see guys that you haven't seen in a couple of years, however long it may be, and guys that you have created some of the best memories of your life with throughout college, or even, for example, like Brock. I was just texting Brock, and he said, "Hey, where's the tailgate tomorrow?" I said, "Oh, there's a waste management plan on 19th and Spring Hill for the Grizzlies if you want to go there. I hear they're holding the tailgate party there." No, but I was like, yeah, I'll pick you up tomorrow. What time you want? I was like, because it's good to, be able to see people from across the state that you don't get to see all the time.
It's interesting, too, particularly with Brock, because you talked about the mindset that you're in and what it is for 60 minutes or 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. And some of that goes away at the end of the game, but some of it doesn't. I mean, some of that is real, right? And so when you walk into an NFL locker room and you got this guy standing there, was there a minute of, well, just let me just ease into this, like the hot water in a sauna or something like that?
It was funny because Brock and I had lockers next to each other.
Right.
In San Francisco. It was just a funny. And then Kendrick Bourne was on the other side of me, so we were all right in a row.
Yeah. Big guy,
and it was just kind of because each week that came up, we had these, we'd have bets, we'd have our, however it may have worked. And I remember just BSing with Brock, and it was my rookie year, whatever year he was in, and I had torn my other knee up right the day before, or I guess 2 days before we were going to come back. We were coming back together. We were planning on watching the game together, the whole nines, and just talking copious amounts of crap to each other the entire week. And the Cats ended up winning that one in Bozeman. And I was stuck on the couch in Santa Clara, after a knee surgery, but I was just lighting his phone up. Just I was not going to take it easy on him.
I would like to get that text thread. I would like to read just through that. Give it a quick scroll,
No doubt. Well, Brock made a great point when he was in here earlier. We actually should have just had you guys on together so you guys could have talked Cats against Grizz and former 49ers and all. Of course we have to do some spotlighting.
This is the safest way to do this is not to have them at the table together, right?
No doubt. But Brock was saying, especially because this decade, the back and forth in this game, I mean, the Cats have won 5, the Grizz have won 4. The Cats have won 3 in a row, but before that, it was bam, bam. I mean, everybody was just winning on each other's home fields, partying on each other's home fields. Brock partied on in his own hometown on the opposing home field in 2013 when he was a senior. But he said, at the end of the day, the one you're going to remember is when you're a senior. And you are a guy that has a fascinating arc of the Bobcat program because you played on very successful teams early, had to kind of navigate the rebuild, but then went on top with 2 straight wins, including in Missoula. So what do you remember about that 2016 game?
Well, there's this old saying they used to have at our high school that you're only as good as your last game.
Right.
And so that was like the peak of college playing. I mean, that is one of the best feelings I've ever had in my entire life, was winning in that stadium in front of that fan base. And I just remember Chad Newell and I had gone and gotten whiteboards and wrote state champs on them and walking around the stadium and like just getting middle fingers and mouthed some expletives and stuff like that. And it was it's a special game to be a part of. And it really doesn't. So you say this decade going back and forth, how much different it is. My girlfriend, she explains when she was growing up that Cats were irrelevant.
So 16 straight losses.
She's like, I didn't even think about the Cats. It didn't, especially in Missoula growing up. She's like, it didn't matter. And I was like, since I've been a part of it, it's not the case. And it is actually quite the opposite. I would say the Cats have gotten the best of the Grizz in this this is, like I said, my short tenure here as
hey,
part
this
of this
is
rivalry.
Well, you say you don't have to temper any of that.
From 2012 until 2000 and here we are today.
That's right.
The Cats have won 5 out of 8.
Yeah,
they're 5 and 3 in the rivalry.
It's just a different mindset going into that game for me, and so I have this outlook on it of Big Brother outlook. The exact opposite of most people in this state. And so it's Carol. I went to that Weber State game with her last week, and she's like, what do you how is it being announced? I was like, I have some great memories in this stadium. I like coming back.
JP Flynn joining us. He's a former Montana State Bobcat and also San Francisco 49er and back in the state of Montana for Cat Grizz weekend at least.
And some of honestly, probably the lowest moment of your career and the highest moment of your career came in the Cat Grizz game, right?
They sure did.
Because he blew his knee right towards the end of the 2015 game. So how much?
Bozeman.
Losing that game in Bozeman and then going through that injury, how much motivation was that for you coming into the next year?
To be honest, I didn't even know what happened on that injury. I had just been told that someone fell into the back of my knee, and so I thought it was a Grizz player just died because it was Chad Newell had broken a big run down their sideline. And I was like, and I was way behind the play, and someone comes and hits the back of my knees, and I was like, I hadn't even watched it until, probably 2 or 3 weeks after my senior year game, and I noticed that John Widenauer actually pushed him into the back of my knee. So that whole year, I was fired up, and I was pissed off about it. And I was like, someone just dove over the back. I'm like, that's cheap stuff. And then I find out that it was just John making a play, just being in a butthole in that situation.
It's really hard to walk across the landmines on live radio.
It is.
It's
it really
very
is.
Nobody appreciates how good we do with this, Coulter. You know what I mean?
No doubt. I can't even control myself half the time. You got the mute button.
Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio across the state on SWX Montana Television. JP Flynn sitting down with us, offering some fun and not so fun, but some real memories of the Cat Grizz rivalry football game.
I want to ask you about what you think of what the Cats are doing on offense right now. Because when you were playing, a priority on the run game, and I think that there was Tim Cramsey's offense was honestly miscast a lot because these guys scored so many points. But it was predicated on the option more than anything else. And then you're throwing deep balls out of that. And Prukop is a touchdown in a bottle. He can score at any time, any point. And you guys had so many guys like that. But then it's evolved, and you played on Jeff Choate's first team, ground and pound from start to finish, and now here they are. It's not just ground and pound, but they can hit you with the reverse, the fly sweep, the wildcat, the zone read, the inside zone, the power, the counter. They do literally everything, and they basically just see what can you not defend, we're going to get you with it. What do you like about what they do on offense right now?
What I personally love, I just actually these shirts.
The Union is what the shirt says.
Yeah, I bought these shirts for the old line.
Nice.
I was there, and on the back they say "Run the damn ball."
I love it.
It's awesome to see because it's just a nasty, gritty form of football, and I've talked to a lot of people about it, and when you line up and you watch, and you got Travis Johnson in the background, he's going to run this power option, where he reads the DN, and he's either going to take it up or hand the ball off to, that jet sweep action. Everyone in the stadium knows what's going on.
Right.
It's not a secret. And
Right.
so when you get lined up and you're still gaining 6 yards a carry or 4 yards a carry, and I'm like, that's a hats off to the O-line. The guys up front that they do have, which from my perspective is fun to watch.
No doubt.
If you're a normal fan, you're probably pissed off. You're probably not that excited about it.
I can't. I've said this on this show for 3 months now, that I think that the non-traditional, unorthodox nature of it, and the fact that they have a quarterback who mostly just throws safe throws and check down throws, and he's operating an offense that's churning out 440 yards per game. They don't need to throw the ball for any more than 165 yards per game. It's irrelevant for them to even try. But I think that clouds because of the way most people watch football. That they think, the Cats are kind of just mediocre on offense. It's like, no, this team is leading the Big Sky Conference by 500 yards in rushing. They have 500 more yards than Cal Poly on 100 less carries. I mean, they're averaging 6 yards per carry as a team,
which is awesome. I mean, you got to give a hats off to Brian Armstrong, the O-line coach. Hats off to Matt Miller, what he's doing, and it's Coach Potter with the tight ends. It takes the collective group to run the ball, especially when everybody in the stadium knows you're running the ball. And so that is as an offensive line, they always say you should be able to put your hand in the dirt, look at the guy across from you, and say, "We're running the ball right here. Take your best shot." And that's exactly what they're doing.
JP Flynn joining us on Two Till Nuanez. JP, you grew up in Iowa and went to high school there and came to Montana State. You came to Bozeman to play. If you are playing at Iowa or Iowa State, Big 10, Big 12, or whatever, you know that in any given college football game, there's going to be, on average, in a Power 5 game, X number of NFL type of players.
Yeah.
But when you go to the FCS, I think a lot of people go, well, 0 or 1 or whatever. But the Cat Grizz game has, we in this show in 90 minutes now, we're 3 for 3 of guys who have gone on to be NFL players and have NFL careers. When you talk about the level of talent that comes into this rivalry between these two schools, was that something you were prepared for or expected when you're coming from Iowa into the state of Montana to play FCS ball?
No, absolutely not. I came to Montana State based on the engineering curriculum that they had. My dad was an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer. I knew that. All my buddies were being engineers in high school. I had no intentions until Alex Wilcox, the strength coach at MSU, one time my sophomore year, looked at me. He's like, "What have you been eating?" I'm like, "I don't know, pizza on Friday nights from Domino's." And whatever. He's like, "You look huge." He's like, and then working with him and the strength staff that we had, just kind of worked off the God-given abilities and went from there. And that was never a thought in my mind, because in high school, to be honest, I'll call myself a late bloomer. I kind of sucked in high school. I wasn't even like.
You can whisper it, but it's going to the state. This is all the way for everyone.
I wasn't even a first-team All-State player in Iowa. I didn't go to play in my Shrine game. I didn't, and people. I tell people that, and they're kind of like, especially people from like everyone. If you have any sort of talent, you play in the Shrine game in Montana. And it's like, I didn't play in mine. Everyone's like, I kind of get a cross-eyed look, like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, no, I was probably like 5th or 6th on the list when it came to the Shrine game, And so it was a different, and I think Coach Mack at the time was recruiting me. And
Jason McIndoe.
Yeah, and he saw some potential there, some, raw ability. And then, like I said, Alex Wilcox, I give every last bit of credit to him, because without him, I, without a doubt, would not be where I got.
That's one of my favorite parts about covering this level of football. If every guy that was a 5-star recruit when they were 18 was then going to go be a first-round draft pick when they were 22, the developmental element of the game would not exist. But that's what's so great, is what you are when you're 18 and what you are when you're 22 or 23. I mean, Mark Mariani, for example, when he came and walked out at Montana, we were laughing. We're like, this kid's going to die. He weighs 150 pounds. It turns out he's also the fastest guy on the planet. And when he got, by the time he gets up to 190 pounds, and he's still just as fast.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I think that at this level, and you could probably speak to this a little bit, the fact that you got to play early. I mean, you got to play so much football. So, I mean, your development is accelerated because, you're on starts number 35 through 45 by the time you're a senior.
Absolutely. I mean, I can attest to that from looking at kids. I mean, remember my brother was a GA here when I first got here, and he looked and he's like, Chad Newell, he's going to be a tight end by the time he's done. And I remember talking with Chad about that. Chad's like, I'll quit. I'm not playing tight end. And I mean, look at the successful.
And then he goes out and rushes for 2,500 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the guy's a stud, one of the best ever to do it for Montana State. Cody Kirk. I'm sure if people looked at Cody Kirk when he showed up on Montana State's campus, they're probably like, yeah, that kid's going to ride the pine for.
I think
maybe
Cody,
if he gets a med red, he'll ride the pine for 6 years. It's not how it was.
I think Cody Kirk got $11 to come play here because his uncle had played at Montana State. Nobody was recruiting him anything, and then by the time he's a sophomore, he scores 16 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's first team All Big Sky.
Well, and you can sit here and you can say that for a number of kids. I could go and look at both teams right now.
Yep.
I look at a kid like Gabe Sulcer for the Grizz. That kid, he's a recruited kid, but you look at him, he's not like I'm going to look at him and walking around Universal and being like, oh, that kid's a college athlete right there.
Right.
But God, you watch him run, you're like, geez, that kid could, he's the fastest kids on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's just, you look at Brock Hoyle and a kid from Bozeman High who probably was under recruited,
no doubt.
And he turned out what he turned out to be. Colt Anderson, Mark Mariani, the list goes on, with guys who have just developed into something special throughout this rivalry.
You mentioned the offensive line and how you're kind of so close to the program and that you have some connections there. I mean, Mitch Brott's a guy you played with, right?
Yeah.
First of all, start though with what's your overall take on this offensive line? Because it's interesting. This group reminds me of the group that you sort of broke in with in the fact that they all kind of got thrown in there early.
Yep.
I mean, John Weidenauer and Alex Ekoff and Kyle Godecki and that whole group of guys, they all got thrown in there early, and then by the time they're seniors, they're like this unit, and you were kind of the fifth guy with those guys. But this unit's the same thing. I mean, Lewis Kidd, Taylor Tuiasosopo, Connor Wood, Zach Red, they all got thrown in there early. Mitch Brock got thrown in when he was a freshman. You were a senior. What's your overall evaluation of this group?
I think they just play nasty, and that's kind of a lost art in college football nowadays because college football is how wide can we spread them out? How far can we throw the ball? Can we throw the ball 50 times a game? We need to have 100 yards or 100 plays on offense to control the clock, and it's not what you see in this group. This group is a nasty group that puts their hand in the dirt and flies off the ball, and they're fun to watch as an offensive lineman. Like I said, if you're not an offensive lineman, you probably aren't super jacked on the way that they're playing. But for me, it's a fun group to watch with just a mean demeanor. You can tell that they got their weight on their hand. Like what's the old cheesy Mark Wahlberg, Invincible, when he plays for the Eagles and he calls a fake punt out because of or whatever he called the way that they had their hand in the dirt. Yeah. There's no question about how much weight they got on their hand because they're coming off the ball. It's good to watch, and I'm excited for them.
What have you thought of the way Brott's developed?
Brott has developed into, once again, a mean, awesome football player. Yeah, they had that. I think you wrote the article on him, or was it the Gazette?
I think the Gazette, because we got ours coming out next week.
Yeah, the Gazette wrote the artitle on
That's
him.
why I'm asking you about it. I'm poaching you.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
I described his demeanor off the field as Eeyore. He just mopes around, just, walks kind of goofy, big, Then you get him on the football field, and he's just got. It's like he's got a fire in his eye, and you're like, I almost want to I'll be on the sideline or watching him. I want to go down there and pat him on the back and be like, "Yo, calm down." Relax. But that's not how he is. Guys play that way, and guys need to play that way, and that's how he plays.
And you don't want to cross him. No. I promise you. In the line of fire, you do not want to cross. They call him Angry Mitch for a reason.
Yeah, Angry Mitch is his alter ego. That's for sure.
It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We are in Bozeman on a Friday show, getting ready for Cat Grizz number 119 tomorrow. J.P. Flynn, good enough to come down and sit with us, former offensive lineman for Montana State and San Francisco 49ers as well. And JP, I've looked at this team and what they have done. We talked about the running game, and we didn't even hardly touch on the fact that basically Isaiah Ifanse has not even been available. Mm-hmm. Troy Anderson has been injured since 2017 and still shows up and goes. Mm-hmm. But what this team, and again, a testament to the offensive line, they also, though, they have just been committed to throwing the ball. They're over 26 attempts a game.
Yep.
And you certainly have to. It seems like, regardless of how good your offensive line is, you gotta mix it up some. You can't be exclusively one-dimensional. Don't tell Montana, because 2 completed passes, I think, in the 2016 victory. So it is possible. There is precedent there.
Yeah.
But Have you been surprised at how much they've thrown the football, given how great they have been on the ground and how diverse they are on the ground?
You know, they have playmakers. They have depth playmakers at running back. Logan Jones, I mean, hats off to the kid. Shane Perry, Lane Sumner. Those guys are good. They run hard, they run low, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. But they have playmakers on the edge in Travis Johnson, Kevin Cassis, Lance McCutcheon, guys who are big targets and who are willing to go up and get a ball. You know, I mean, it's like there's not a ton of people who are who can go up and have the body control like Kevin Cassis does.
For sure.
There's not guys who can run like Travis Johnson in this league. And so you got to get them their targets.
You can't have a guy like Kevin Cassis and have him touch the ball once a half.
You
can't happen.
You can't.
Right?
I mean, and target him once a half. I mean, at the very least, you got to target him 12 times a game, you know, just because of who he is. Maybe he only catches 3 of those passes, but they're probably going to be for those explosive plays, those 20-plus yard catches down the sideline, you know, or even if he's across the middle. He's going to make something happen when you put the ball in his hand, and so that's why he's so impressive. And he's not a huge guy, you know.
No, right.
You know, he's maybe the 6-footer, the guy who, you know, goes, but he can go up and get a ball with the best of them, you know. And I'd like to see him targeted more personally.
When you were playing, one of the only knocks on Rob Ash was not being able to win this game. And then since Jeff Choate came in 3 in a row, and I think that the Bobcat fan base has been extra galvanized because of the way Choate handles his business, the way he talks, how serious he takes this rivalry. Yeah. You told a great story. You can go check out our ESPN Roundtable that we did with JP a couple months ago. And we talked just kind of about the arc of the program, but in this game, why is Jeff Choate such a great figurehead for Montana State?
I would say it's because Choate finds the mindset that the players have.
Yes.
And that it takes a special coach to be able to do that, because coaching is a very high, but you have to keep your composure as a coach. You know, you're the leader of a group of 105 very, very immature college athletes. And so when they get into a game like this, there's testosterone flying, there's a lot of things going on in this game that it makes college athletes go crazy, you know. And I remember taking like 6 scoops of pre-workout before this game because you're just ready to bang your head through a wall, you know. And it's just
seems safe.
And so Choate has that same mindset, but he has the poise and control to lead a team in this game, and that's why I feel like he has the success that he does in this game, is because he has the same mindset that the players do, but he has that leadership aspect of him that is projected to all of his players.
What do you think of him? What do you think of the job he's doing right now?
I love Choate.
Oh yeah,
he could be 3-55.
Yeah.
And it'd be 3-0 against Montana, and you ask anybody in Montana State, you say, "Oh, this is the greatest thing," and he's obviously not, because it's the number 8 team in the nation, for crying out loud.
Well, I think it's interesting though, because we talked with Brock Hoyle about coaching changes and the way it impacts a program. And I know your brother played for Coach Ash at Drake, and I know that the main draws here, like you said, were engineering and Jason McIndoe. But it just seems sometimes coaching changes, they click. Sometimes they ostracize guys, they cause attrition, and a lot of times it has for no other reason than just being completely different. But your guys' group of guys, there was just a handful of you guys that were Choate guys way more than you were anything else.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you and Chad and Gunner, like those guys, Chad Newell, Gunner Brecky, you guys got to kind of go out on a high note, even though it was a down season, because you got to play for a guy that suits your guys' personalities a lot more.
Absolutely. Well, I'd say Choate and Mac were very similar.
Right, totally.
Very similar. And, I was a Mac guy, without a doubt. And Mac was a guy who got the best out of his athletes. It didn't matter for Mac if you were 5'9" from Troy, Montana, and you weighed 195 pounds when you stepped on campus, and you were asked to play center. He's going to figure out a way to make you the best damn center that he possibly could.
I mean, Charles Hampson's not even as big as I am. He's first team all-league.
Yeah. And, I mean, the guy is just, he knows how to draw the best of you, and I think that's what Choate is very good at with his players, is no matter what, he knows how to make the best version of whoever he's pointing his finger at that day. How do I get the best out of Mitch Brott? How do I get the best out of Logan Jones? How do I get the best out of Tyrell Thomas, Troy Anderson, whoever it is? That's what he excels at.
JP Flynn joining us. JP, we appreciate you being here. Obviously, we got to ask you, not who's winning. We know what your answer is. What's the score? The million.
Cats by 1 million.
That's a lot of scoring.
That would be
that's a big running day.
Yeah.
That's a big running day.
No, I think the Cats get them by 4.
Okay. Ooh, good game. This is There has not been a lot of close games for either of these teams this year. Montana State's been in a couple. Montana hasn't been in a single one. I would love to see a close game tomorrow. That would suit me to a T. But anyway, we'll see. I hope you're right about this.
Yeah.
4 points. I'm into that.
Yeah.
JP, thanks so much for being here, man. We really appreciate it. It's fun to talk with you and get your perspective on all this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
JP Flynn, former Montana State offensive lineman, former San Francisco 49er. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue our conversation. Who is more impacted going forward by this game, Montana or Montana State? We'll answer that. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just debate it next.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Gather your friends and family and join the Montana Club for their annual Thanksgiving feast, featuring succulent oven-roasted turkey or tender, juicy prime rib, and all the mouth-watering sides. And don't forget the pie. Enjoy home-style pecan, pumpkin, or pumpkin cheesecake to top off your meal. Thanksgiving feast starts at 11 a.m., and they'll also offer their full menu as well. Open 8 to 7 Thanksgiving Day. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
It is the fiercest rivalry in college football, and on November 22nd, Universal Athletic, Up Top Clothing, and ESPN Missoula will team together to bring you a special edition of Tutel Nuanez. Broadcasting from the Universal Athletic headquarters in Bozeman, swing into Universal Athletic to check out the Montana Football Hall of Fame, get your Grizz and Bobcat gear, and hear the best sports talk radio in Montana previewing the 119th rendition of the historic rivalry. Universal Athletic and Up Top Clothing are passionate supporters of athletics around the great state of Montana.
Black Friday is coming, and for the hunter or gun enthusiast on your list, the best Black Friday sale is once again at Selway Armory. Selway Armory's annual Black Friday sale is the stuff of legends, with tons of inventory at and even below cost. Put Selway Armory on your schedule and get there this Black Friday and Saturday for the sale of the year on firearms, ammunition, and accessories. Get to the store at 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6 behind IHOP on North Reserve. Selway Armory's Black Friday sale, the best there is.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up.
Get energized at your local Town Pump. Monster or Reign energy drinks, 2 for $4. And 12 packs of Coke products are only $4.99. Town Pump has everything you need to get you through the day. They're right down the road.
Americans waste 3.8 million gallons of gas by idling every single day. Idling for more than 10 seconds actually uses more fuel and produces more emissions than stopping and restarting your engine.
Vehicle exhaust contributes to smog, climate change, and poor air quality, heightening the risk of developing asthma and lung disease. Kids and seniors are especially vulnerable to these health risks.
So next time you're stopped for more than 10 seconds at the train, getting coffee, or picking your child up from school, please turn your vehicle off.
Brought to you by Missoula in Motion.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, now evening. Prior to Cat Grizz, Tutel Nuanez, here's some sports news for you. The rivalry tomorrow, number 119, is just a day away. Starts at noon tomorrow. And also a bunch of state championships across the state starting tonight at the high school level. But Coulter is not just football this weekend. Cross-country star making a national impact this weekend as well.
No doubt. Montana State star runner Camilla Noe will compete on the national stage. The freshman and Bozeman High product will compete in the NCAA Cross Country Championships on Saturday. The women's 6K championship race begins at 9:15 a.m. in Terre Haute, Indiana. Noe will be the 7th Montana State women's runner ever to participate in the NCAA Cross Country Championships and the first since Darby native Heather Demarest placed 58 at the 2013 national meet.
That race will be the precursor to the showdown of the Treasure State is collectively anticipating. The number 3 Montana Grizzlies at the number 8 Montana State Bobcats. Kickoff scheduled for high noon at Bobcat Stadium tomorrow. The matchup pits the Big Sky Conference top running offense, the Bobcats, against the league's most stout rushing defense, the Grizzlies.
Montana State's looking for its 4th straight victory over the rival Grizz. MSU has not won 4 straight since the last 4 years of legendary head coach Sonny Holland's tenure, which ended in 1977. The winner will get a top 8 seed and a playoff bye.
Noon tomorrow, Root Sports TV.
There's a place off Ocean Avenue where I used to sit and talk with you. We were both 16 and it felt so right. Sleeping all day, staying up all night.
Boys and girls, it's Two-Tone Nuanez. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio. We got 30 minutes left. Let's make the most of it. We are happy to be with you. We are live in Bozeman, Montana, site of Cat Grizz 119, ground zero. Very happy to be here at the Universal Athletic in Bozeman. Come on by. Check it out. Get some gear for tomorrow from up top. Also, you get yourself acquainted with the history of football in the state with the Montana Football Hall of Fame, which is housed here in the Bozeman Universal Athletic. Very, very cool. We appreciate all of those folks for helping us out and getting this show on here today from Bozeman. We are broadcasting live still through the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, and they will have their 7th annual snow day on December 7th. It's a Saturday coming up in just a couple of weeks. You go in there, one day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the biggest sale of the entire year. You're going to save a ton of money, get everybody taken off your Christmas list, or checked off your Christmas list, I should say, not taken off it, and have a great time. Free lunch over there as well at Kurtz Polaris. If you want to call 329-1899, all guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. And if you'd like to listen live, you can do it on the website, 1029ESPN.com. There, you listen live to the stream. Thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Coming up here in about 10 minutes from now, Sam Herder, a buddy from Hero Sports, going to join us. He's making his first pilgrimage to the Cat Grizz football game, covers the FCS nationally for Hero Sports, does a great job, and we will talk to him about the ramifications of this game in his mind from a national standpoint as well. But Coulter, we wanted to just take a quick moment and, ask ourselves a question, take a look at this game and what it means and the impact that it's going to have going forward, because as we know, all these games are huge games within the season, but they also can set the tone for the years that follow. And the question very simply is this: who is this game bigger for, Montana or Montana State?
I've been really thinking about this dynamic of this game. I think that in the arc of sports, especially college sports, because it's such a finite amount of time, it's a 4 or 5 year career.
Right.
What you do later on in your career, especially in football with a specific group of guys, like we just heard from Brock Coyle, Colt Anderson, and J.P. Flynn. What'd they all say? We remember all the Cat Grizz games we played in, but the one we remember the most is our senior year. I mean, that Bobcat team that J.P. Flynn played on, they beat Western Oregon and Bryant and UC Davis when UC Davis was real bad, and that was it. But they beat Montana in Missoula right off into the sunset. Yep. Nobody cares that they were 4-7. They won the one that mattered, and it was one of the most shocking upsets in the history of the rivalry.
Absolutely.
So it sets the tone. But I also think that sometimes if you achieve, like that was a barometer, that was a stepping stone for Montana State, and they've incrementally gotten better since then. I think sometimes if you arrive too early, it can impede your progress as a whole group, but you never want to not arrive too early for the guys that it's their last go-around, like Dalton Snead and Dante Olson and Josh Sandry and Jesse Sims. Those guys want to go out on a high note. But I just wonder, in the arc of the rivalry, I think if Montana State wins the game tomorrow, they can hold off Montana for another year. Because Montana's coming. They're already here. They're 9-2. They're number 3 in the country. They've been destroying people. They look like a team that could truly make a playoff run. This Bobcat squad has not made a run. They made the playoffs. They haven't made a run. So winning this game could vault your momentum into the playoffs, give you a chance to make a run in a year you're actually supposed to. And on the other hand, it denies the Grizz that one last boost because they're trying to grab it. They're getting close to grabbing it. They could grab it tomorrow. This could be the first 10-win team at Montana since Brock Coyle was a senior in 2013. So, I don't want to sit here and debate, has Montana arrived too early? That's here nor there. I just think this is a more impactful game for Montana State because this is the year that Montana State was supposed to be in this position. Montana's here a little bit early. So can they beat a number 3 ranked Grizzly team and surge into the playoffs? And if they don't, also how they recollect the collective mentality. I just think it's a for the arc of the program, because this is year 4 under Jeff Choate and only year 2 under Bobby Hauck, it's more important for the Cats tomorrow.
It feels to me like this game is very even within the context of this season and what we're looking at tomorrow. But it also feels to me like if you take the trajectory of these two teams, it quote unquote took Jeff Choate 4 years to get to this point, and Bobby Hauck is doing it now in his second year. So the progress has been much faster for Bobby Hauck and the Montana Grizzlies. That said, I think that Bobby Hauck was shocked that they lost the football game right down to the very last second of that game.
I think Bobby Hauck was shocked that they lost all the football games that they lost last year.
Maybe so. But here's what I think.
I truly think that Coach Hauck thought he was going to come in and straight return to the playoffs, make a run to the playoffs year one.
Period. I agree with you. They didn't do it. But now they're 9-2, as you said. They're number 3 in the nation. They have been rolling, and they go against this Montana State team. And I think if Montana State gets them again, I don't know how much the idea of something like doubt ever enters Bobby Hauck's mind, but if it ever was going to, that would be the circumstance when it would happen. The whole vision of what this was going to be alters hugely for Montana if they don't win this game tomorrow. It's just a fact. And I think that is, look, Montana feels like they are coming on, and that the return of Bobby Hauck is a lot of what people hoped it would be that are Grizz fans out there. This game tomorrow stamps all of that. A loss tomorrow calls it all into question, all of it. Because even though as good as you are and going to the playoffs for sure and all that stuff, you are not as good as Montana State. And that was never, ever, ever the case, not even a thought for Bobby Hauck the first time around.
Although
and now it has to
be. To his first 3 matches.
Sure, at the beginning. But again, he's a first-time head coach and the whole thing. This is a whole different deal. So that's the thing that I'm interested in, and I'm going to be – we will talk certainly more about all of that after the game tomorrow and on the show on Monday. It's ESPN Radio, Tutel and Nuanez. Sam Herder from Hero Sports joining us right after this. He's going to contextualize this game for us at a national level for the FCS, covers the FCS, well, for the whole country. So we'll have him in here just a moment. Hey, right now, go get your car detailed from Shine Auto Detailing. Why? Well, because it's winter. You get the whole thing clean, that's great. It's going to get dirty again, we know that. But you can also get it protected. They put a ceramic coating on there, so no matter what flies up at your car, rock chips, sand, salt, all the winter driving that you do, when you go to wash that thing off again, you're not going to have any chipping, any paint damage, any problems after you get your car detailed from Shine Auto Detailing. They will also throw in a free headlight restoration with any detailing that they do. Shine Auto Detailing, MissoulaAutoDetailing.com online. Get your car fixed, get it looking good, get it cared for, and also drive safe this winter with great new headlights and a headlight restoration from Shine Auto Detailing. Sam Herder right after this.
Katie O'Keefe's has been a neighborhood favorite in the corner of the Stevens Center for years. But if you haven't been into Katie's lately, come on in and make sure to turn left. The downstairs bar is completely remodeled with one of the biggest, best spaces anywhere in Missoula to watch games, play games, and hang out with all your friends. Katie O'Keefe's is your horse racing simulcast headquarters in Missoula. Come into Katie's and turn left for cribbage, darts, pool, and much, much more. Katie O'Keefe's, where the cocktails are always cold and the people are always friendly.
Here at Florence Coffee Company, we developed our medium roast coffee beans to make consistently smooth and delicious coffee drinks. You can take the beans home yourself so you can have Florence coffee anytime. Pick up a pound of whole bean or ground for only $12. Better yet, if you bring your own cup, we'll give you a 12-ounce strip coffee free when you buy your coffee beans. Come to any Florence Coffee location or go to FlorenceCoffeeCo.com.
Florence Coffee Company.
Do you know what's at stake after a car accident? Not only will you have to deal with pushy insurance companies, auto repair shops, endless doctor's appointments, and dozens of unforeseen problems, but also your normal day-to-day life. I'm Coulter here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys, and she knows how hard this can be.
That's right. And with all of that, it can seem tempting to take the quick settlement that the insurance company is offering. But I can tell you from experience that it is not going to be a fair amount. I see it all the time where someone has settled with the insurance company and months later realizes that they still have pain pain from the accident. And now they're having to pay those bills out of their pocket. I don't want that to happen to anyone.
So what should our listeners do, Catherine?
Give us a call and discuss your situation with an attorney. The call is free and we'll gladly talk about your situation with you. If you have a case that we can help with, you will owe us nothing out of pocket. We actually make the insurance company pay for us to help you.
There you have it. Call the Advocates at 406-640-4444 or go online, MontanaAdvocates.com. You deserve the Advocates on your side.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Hey there, Missoula. Mark Moss from Tell Us Something inviting you to join us for an evening of live storytelling at the Wilma, December 10th at 7 p.m. 8 storytellers take the stage to share their true personal stories from memory on the theme, Tipping Point. We again welcome American Sign Language interpreters who will sign for our deaf friends in the Missoula community. Get your tickets now at the Top Hat box office, Rockin' Rudy's, or logjampresents.com. December 10th, 7 p.m. at the Wilma, Tipping Point Stories. See you there.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Broadcasting live today from the Universal Athletic in Bozeman, Montana. They got all the gear, man. Cat Grizz up top. That's what you want to wear. Represent your school, represent your team, represent your state, up top clothing. Also check out the Montana Football Hall of Fame while you're here. Get yourself acquainted with the history of football in the state of Montana. We are broadcasting live through the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Go check that thing out on Saturday, December the 7th, one day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the 7th annual Snow Day, the biggest sale of the entire year, one day only at Kurtz Polaris. If you missed anything in the show, check it out on the podcast, the Tutel Nuanez podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. It is there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Also, the FCS Speculators podcast out. Also, this week at SkylineSportsMT.com, all the content is there for you. Okay, it's all, you go there, you can read whatever you want, the whole article, and I even got a column up there today, this afternoon, so I'm happy about it.
Give yourself more work in the future.
I know. All right. Well, anyway, it's there. You want to go check it out and all the matchups and stuff. Go to SkylineSportsMT.com and check it out. Happy now to welcome in our buddy Sam Herder from Hero Sports, and Sam does a great job covering the FCS at a national level for Hero Sports. And Sam, your maiden voyage here, you've been to the state of Montana before, but to a Cat Grizz football game and actually covering it firsthand in person. How we doing so far? You liking your time in the state of Montana?
Yeah, it's been great. I've been doing a lot of touristy stuff, just eating at all the places, seeing all the sites and all that. Colton Poole, my buddy, has brought me out, up into the mountains and seeing all of that. It is nice to see some landscape outside of flat land. I live in Minnesota, so there's not a whole lot to see besides some flat land and lakes. But no, it's been great. Covering the FCS nationally, obviously Brawl the Wild has been on my bucket list for quite some time. So be able to get out here, see the game in person, kind of talk to some people. It's been great. It's been really great.
And it turns out, too, it's probably the game of the week in the nation when you talk about number 3 versus number 8. And I know that you have your kind of power rankings as well at different places. But both these teams for sure in the top 10, no matter kind of how you slice it. What do you think of this matchup right now as you've kind of covered this whole thing on a broad scale?
Yeah, so many, there are so many eyes on this game nationally anyways, just because everyone knows about the rivalry. These are two blue blood programs in the FCS, but when it's 3 versus 8, when there's seeds on the line, there's going to be fans in Fargo and Harrisonburg, Virginia, where James Madison plays, and down in Texas. Like, everyone's going to be watching this game, because it's going to impact the playoff seeds so much. And I think that's what's so great about this game this weekend is there's going to be so many eyes on it. And both teams they're playoff locks, right? 8 wins out of the Big Sky, they're playoff locks. So now it's a matter of, if Montana wins, Montana State is most likely dropped to the first round. But if Montana State wins, boy, then we get into the discussion of
could it be 6-8, 7-8,
yeah,
sort of deal?
But then you get into the discussion of is the playoff committee going to seed 4 Big Sky teams?
Right.
Because Sacramento State is not a given to beat UC Davis. But if they do, Montana State wins. I mean, who do you bump from the seeds between Montana, Montana State, Weber State, Sacramento State? They all have great arguments to be seeds.
Right.
So if the Bobcats get a win, I mean, right after the game, once all the games are done tomorrow, I'm doing my playoff projections. And if Montana State wins, I'm going to have no idea how to seed this field. I'm going to have no idea. It's going to be wild.
Well, that's one thing that we kind of didn't get to is we've been talking about this potential seeding in the FCS playoffs. And we had the chairman of the FCS playoff committee on the show. Sam has been kind enough to come on with us each and every week on FCS Speculators as well as on Tutel Nuanez. So we've got a pretty good gauge of what's going on around the country. When you look at the top 12 this week, North Dakota State plays Southern Illinois. That's almost certainly going to be a win. James Madison plays Rhode Island. Almost certainly a win. Sac State, UC Davis, I agree with you. Probably a coin flip. I mean, South Dakota State's been rolling, save the fact that they did lose a couple weeks back, but they got back in a real big way against Northern Iowa last week. They got South Dakota State, who's been struggling all year. That's probably a win, too. I mean, Weber State's a 21-point favorite over Idaho State. They're not probably going to lose that game. I don't think Youngstown State's going to be able to hang with Illinois State.
This is the one game where
Northern
either
Iowa,
team could win it.
I mean, Northern Iowa, Western Illinois. And Western Illinois has been really bad this year. Villanova, Delaware. Delaware has been very disappointing. Central Arkansas, Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word has been very disappointing. Southeast Missouri State, Murray State. So you have all these games where literally we can almost determine for sure who is going to win, except for the Causeway Classic and Cat-Grizz rivalry, which actually happens to be, even though it hasn't happened in the scope of the rivalry. I mean, the longest rivalries in terms of actually acknowledged, established rivalries with names and trophies and all that, it's number 1, Montana State, number 2, Montana, Idaho, but number 3, the Causeway Classic. I mean, it's been going on since 1954. Who knows what's going to happen between UC Davis and
Sac State, UC Davis, people, if you're wondering at home, what Causeway Classic is referring to. That's the game.
But Sam, that just adds to the national ramifications of what we're going to see in the Big Sky, because honestly, likely it's going to be chalk except for the 2 Big Sky games.
Exactly, yeah. And you ran down all the games. I do. Youngstown State, Illinois State will be interesting. Illinois State, their offense has already been struggling, and their starting quarterback is out. So, but Youngstown has looked so disinterested these last few weeks. They've kind of, I don't want to say they quit, but I mean they kind of just doesn't look very interested. But yeah, so it seems like all the games in the top 12 to top 15, they're going to win. But it is going to come down to this game, and life would probably be easier for us playoff projection guys, if Montana does win, because everything just kind of falls into place. Montana State still might have an argument for a seed, maybe. I don't know if it's a strong argument, but most likely, like I said, they would be bumped to the first round. Montana, then it's where does Montana go? 3 seed, 4 seed, but everything else kind of falls into place. But if Montana State wins, then things are going to be shuffling all over the place.
So I want to make your head hurt real quick.
Okay.
If Sac State loses tomorrow, that probably costs them a seed, right?
I think so.
Okay, so if Sac State loses, then give us the scenarios of the Cat-Grizz game. If Sac State loses and Montana State wins, what? And if Sac State loses and Montana wins, what?
So I think if Sac State does lose, they probably are out of the seeds, because Sacramento State, the thing is they only have 7 Division I wins right now, because
they play 2
FBS and 1 non-counter. So while they have the head-to-head against Montana's 9-1 against the FCS. Sacramento State is 7-1. How do you weigh overall resumes, or
even though that
head-to-head?
one loss was to Sacramento State?
That's why I'm asking this, because they Sac State beat both Montana and Montana State.
Right.
There's a chance that if they lost, the Cats or the Grizz, the winner would get the seed and Sac State wouldn't.
Yeah, I do feel like Sac State would get bounced from the seeds if they lose it, because it's not. I mean, head-to-heads are a big deal, but at the same time, you have to look at overall resumes, and a 7-2 record against the FCS. I don't know if that'll get you a seed when there's 9-1 or 8-2 records against the FCS. So yeah, that Sacramento State game, UC Davis game, I think is going to be big. Is also to shake things up a little bit maybe.
Sam Herder joining us. He covers the FCS for Hero Sports. And Sam, I know that you've been very close to and covered the North Dakota State program for a long time, and they're now in the second coaching change during the run, and seems like business as usual there in Fargo. Colter, who were we talking to? What coach said this is the best NDSU team? Was it Dan Hawkins?
Tim Walsh and Dan Hawkins both said that.
But in any case, coaches
they both
say
said
what
that after they lost to NDSU.
Coaches say what they say. My question to you is, does NDSU look like they are as far in front of the field as they've ever been, or does it feel like there are teams that are maybe closing the gap a little bit? And does NDSU even acknowledge that stuff? Do they see, there's some surging programs and we got to keep our foot on the gas or whatever? It seems like often they're just like, hey, we do what we do and we don't worry about the rest of it, which is probably the case. But what do you see?
Yeah, I think for the most part that they're kind of, within themselves, but they do recognize, the fact that, all right, South Dakota State has some big time facilities going up. We need to up our game. South Dakota State has built a new indoor practice facility. UND has built a new practice indoor facility. Guess what NDSU is doing? They're trying to raise money to build their own practice facility. But so I do think they're kind of paying attention to what is going around the country. I don't think the gap between NDSU and everyone else is as big as last year. I do think a team like James Madison is probably a little closer to NDSU than some people think, but after that, I don't know if Montana's there quite yet. South Dakota State is kind of limping along. But this team just keeps on rolling, and what's so ridiculous is if NDSU wins tomorrow, they're going to tie their own record for the longest winning streak in FCS history, 33 straight games, and no one's really talking about it. It's just like
they've already done it.
It's been so casual, and when they were on their streak from 2012 to 2014, that's what everyone was talking about, the streak, 28 straight, 29 straight. And when they lost, it was a huge deal. And now it's just been, all right, 30 straight, 31 straight games, 32 straight games. Now it's just been like, all right, that's just what they're doing. They're winning. And it's such an amazing streak, but it's kind of just like, yeah, that they're doing what they're doing.
I don't know if it's going to be this week, next week, or the week after, but we're getting close to, they will, if they do not lose, I think it's either next week or the week after. If they win their next 3 straight, they will have won 142 out of their last 150 games. Consider that.
Man, it sounds like me. That's the type of numbers I'm putting up. Hey, it's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Sam Herder finishing out the week with us from Hero Sports, talking about the game. Sam, when you take a look at these two teams, though, you talked about North Dakota State, but where we all understand that North Dakota State is in a tier by themselves, and then probably James Madison is in the next tier by themselves. Where's Montana and Montana State to you on it from a national landscapes?
Yeah, I don't think they're as far off. They still have quite a bit of gap to close, to hit NDSU's level. I think Montana, certainly with the way they beat Weber State, certainly showed that they've taken a bigger step this season than maybe we expected. I think Montana State is a couple things away from getting to being nationally, I don't want to say relevant, but nationally toward the top,
nationally elite.
Year after year. And I asked Coach Choate about this. I asked Leon Costello about this. About what do you need? What's it gonna take? To get to that next level. And they saw firsthand last year in the second round against North Dakota State. Just what kind of athletes you need to recruit, and how much depth you need to build on the offensive and defensive lines, and also facilities wise. They talked to me quite a bit about the new stadium renovations they're doing, and how much that is going to help, because you have to invest in your program. NDSU, it's not like they're loaded by any means. James Madison has a big time budget, but you need to be able to invest in your program. And once you do that, you start putting up nice facilities. You start getting things like a nutritionist, and just kind of small stuff like that. Possibly cost of attendance. I know, it's something they obviously want to do here for both Montana schools. Once you start getting that, then you start getting those next level recruits. Already better recruits than what they're getting now, and they already are getting pretty good recruits now. So it's all those small things that kind of build up to keep on closing the gap on NDSU.
Sam, we appreciate you being here. We're wrapping things up. What's going to happen in Bobcat Stadium tomorrow?
Yeah, so my prediction is out. We released them yesterday. I do have Montana State winning this game.
Okay.
Don't feel the easy answer is a 50-50 game, and I do think it is a coin flip game. And it's not even the home field advantage thing, because I feel like there's been 7 road wins.
Yeah, it's eight of the last 10.
Only 2 home victories this decade.
Yeah, so road. Obviously being home helps, but it's not the deciding factor. I just feel like Montana State has so many different ways to run the ball, so many different players to run the ball, that they're going to be able to find enough ways to score points somewhere in the 20s. And then their defense obviously is going to have to play one of their better games to slow down one of the better offenses in the FCS. But I do think, Montana's offense does get the ball out of Snead's hands quick a little bit here or there. They do take their shots, but I do like Montana State's defensive line matchup against Montana's offensive line to I don't think you're going to rattle Snead, but I think you can maybe knock him off his game a little bit. And it'll be interesting how mobile he is as well if they do get pressure on him.
All right, Sam, appreciate you being here. Thanks for that. Thanks for the look at it nationally as well. Boys and girls, tomorrow morning, 7 till 10 a.m., we have some special programming for you on ESPN Radio. It'll be a Cat Grizz Saturday morning tomorrow. We'll hear from Colt Anderson, from Chase Reynolds, and from Coulter and myself about the game. Until then, and noon tomorrow, thanks for being with us. Thanks to Universal Athletic, Up Top Clothing, and the Montana Football Hall of Fame for getting this on the air today. And our thanks to David back in the studio for making it happen as well. Cat Grizz, 119 tomorrow. State championship tonight. Best weekend of the year. Enjoy it. Stay safe. Good night, everybody.
Gather your friends and family and join the Montana Club for their annual Thanksgiving feast, featuring succulent oven-roasted turkey or tender, juicy prime rib, and all the mouth-watering sides. And don't forget the pie. Enjoy home-style pecan, pumpkin, or pumpkin cheesecake to top off your meal. Thanksgiving feast starts at 11 a.m., and they'll also offer their full menu as well. Open 8 to 7 Thanksgiving Day. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hey, Coulter Nuanez from Tutel Nuanez. You need a great place for a Christmas gift? I got a spot for you. Aspen Sound in Missoula. They got all the hookups for everything you could possibly need for your vehicles. What are some of the sweet things you got going on down there, Tom?
Thanks, Coulter. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have sure been popular this year for safety and convenience. You can do text messaging, maps, pretty much everything you need, phone calls, music, everything right from the touch of your radio. We also have remote car starters, as you know, and window tint. Lots of goodies at a great price. Come on down and see us.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. The Advocates are on your side.
When your football team scores, sometimes you want to celebrate with a shot. Other times your team might be getting whipped. You need a beer. At Katie O'Keefe's, you don't have to choose. Every Monday and Thursday from 6 to 10 p.m., come watch the NFL and enjoy a premium shot and a beer for just $6. That's right, a shot and a beer for $6. Located in the Stevens Center, Katie O'Keefe's is also offering $2 pounder cans of Rainier, PBR, and Busch Light. Monday and Thursday night football at Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
This is Tom Skerritt for the Borgen Project. Each year, nearly 2 million children die from preventable diseases. Each day, 30,000 people die from hunger. 500 each hour are children. The Borgen Project is turning this around. We need your help. To learn more, go to BorgenProject.org. That's BORGEN project.org.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.